Network Entertainment.
This is brought to you by Meralco.
Hello, students and junior professionals of PR and communications. Welcome to the Pioneer PRSP YouthCon in a podcast that is breaking down the buzz. And I'm your host, Rudy Villar. I am the chief client partner of Villar Brand Consulting and also a communications consultant of TOG Integrated. Do you know that you're part of history? Yes, you are. The PRSP YouthCon in a podcast is the first of its kind in the communications industry. Breaking down the buzz is in partnership with the Pod Network. This collaboration really shows how the different entities work together to create innovative ideas to reach more students and young professionals. By using all platforms like podcasts, PRSP, and the Pod Network deliver learnings to a wider audience. This is a pioneer event in the PR industry and for allied industries using craft and technology for innovative and sustainable activations. Breaking Down the Buzz is a 12-part podcast series that tackles one different topic every podcast. The 12 topics are designed to be relevant to students and practitioners of PR and communications. Our discussions are current and fresh, and the talk points are direct, easy to digest, and very useful for school or your current work. In short, suitable for all young listeners and best for all ages. So without further ado, let's get started. Today our topic is crafting communications for the functional, or should we say, the unglamorous. And our featured guests are from the companies that you know. First of all, we have Mr. Charles Manimbo, Head of Communication Strategy and Analytics at Meralco. Hi, Charles. And Mr. Jocel de Guzman,
Hello.
Founder and Lead Convener of ScamWatch Pilipinas, formerly with Globe Telecom.
Yes. Hello.
Okay, so let's hear from Charles first. What do you do in Meralco?
Thank you, Rudy. First of all, my name is Charles Manimbo, and I do strategy and analytics for Meralco's corporate communications office. I've been with Meralco for more than 3 years already, and as you know, Meralco is one of the largest energy distributor in the Philippines. It's a very technical industry. But before that, I was also in tech, mobile money, and in the automotive industry. Not only that, I also did sales and product management before I got into communications.
Okay, good. How about you, Giselle?
Hi, Rudy. It's been a while. Nice to see you here. Well, like what I said earlier, I'm the founder and president of the startup reputation management company called Truth 360. So I specialize in advocacy communications and crisis communications, and I also do I outsource corporate communications for companies that don't have corporate communications. So it's relatively new. I'm also the founder and co-lead convener of the ScamWatch Pilipinas, which is the national arm of the government to educate Filipinos against online scam. So our partners here are the ICT, the Cyber Crime Investigation and Coordinating Center, National Privacy Commission, and the National Telecommunications Commission.
Okay, but very interesting. But before that, you were with corporate.
Yes, I was the head of PR and communication strategy of Globe Telecom for 7 years. And my first work was actually with Bayantel as corporate communications assistant in 1998, and I became the head of corporate communications of Sun Cellular back in 2007.
So very consistent. So what brought you to that line, to the area of communications? Like fresh, what did you do in college, and then how did you move to the corporate?
My course in college in San Beda was philosophy, but I was an active campus journalist. So at that time, the field in terms of my field in communications already started early. I was exposed to deadlines, to story conferences, and eventually when after graduation, I was supposed to join the media, but the Beda network invited me to join Bayantel. So at that time, Bayantel was new. Back in 1998, it was the most high-tech telecommunications company at that time That was before MVP Manny Pangilinan. And that started my career in telco. And after that, because it's corporate communications, the content and in terms of content distribution of using various channels are the same. So I moved to financial services with pre-need. So that was my first time to encounter crisis.
Yeah.
When the entire industry was being attacked. Then after that, I moved to Sun Cellular. Then I became the marketing services head of Alaska under Glenn Fernando. And then I moved to LBC as global corporate communications head, logistics naman. And then I came back to telco in 2013.
Okay.
And then after 2019, before the pandemic, I left and created my own company now.
Okay, very interesting.
It's a wide
I'll
range
get
of
back to you. Yeah,
experience.
wide range, no? Charles, very young. But ito naman, what made you, interested in this kind of, they say, unglamorous, but very challenging industry?
Right,
What
right.
Yeah, what got you interested in that?
So, as you've mentioned, logistics, utilities, and real estate are three of the most essential industries in not only in society but also for the economy. But they're also industries that are often overlooked by young people because they can perceive it as being traditional or boring or old-fashioned. But there's actually a lot of factors that I personally weighed in when I joined Meralco. So you guys were just talking about I actually came from quite the different industries myself, and I based on my experience, it really depends on for me it really depends on the people you work with, the kind of culture that you have, and also I guess the kind of mission that these companies do. No, but I think one of the most important steps so you can actually attract young people is to dispel the myths that these are and misconceptions that surround them. No. And for example, logistics is not just about trucks and warehouses. It's also about cutting-edge technology and supply chain management and global trade. And utilities are not just about power plants and water treatment facilities. They're also about renewable energy, smart grid, and sustainability. And so, if you take the industry as it is, I think another major step is you highlight the benefits of working in these types of companies. So, for example, these industries are all growing rapidly nowadays, no, and which means there are plenty of opportunities for advancement. And they also offer competitive salaries, benefits, and they provide a chance to make a real difference in the world today. And so, ako kasi, while I was honing my skills as a professional, no, I've always thought of how can I make a small contribution the best way I can, no. And I think in these companies, it's very tangible. You actually see how you kind of contribute for public service and nation building. And so these are high impact workplaces that really make a difference. And two, they offer opportunities for professionals for development and advancement. And three, which what I noticed is they did deliberately create diverse and inclusive workplaces, which I think is very popular at the moment.
So very interesting, So the young people, no, especially young people now, they look for meaning in the things that they do.
Yes.
So it's very, very relevant to them, the young millennials, and even the Gen Zs, no. So how about you, Jocel? Because you're doing another thing now, which is also very meaningful. The Scamwatch Pilipinas.
Yes.
Can you tell us something about that?
Well, Scamwatch Pilipinas, I partnered first with Manila Bulletin. So, given that we are now in what we call the period of scamdemic, so due to the rampant proliferation of online scams, and what we need to understand during the pandemic, the digitalization of Filipinos was accelerated because of the pandemic. Suddenly, because of the lockdown, from a digital entertainment or digital lifestyle, it became digital life. you're working at home, our kids are studying at home, our love life was at home, everything, our business was at home. So given this, nobody taught the Filipinos how to basically take care of themselves in navigating the internet. So unlike when we were young, when you go out, don't talk to strangers, don't accept gifts from strangers, look left and right before crossing the streets. No one told us about that when we were using the internet. So given this, the growth of the digital economy during the pandemic, which is now 2.08 trillion pesos, and it's 9.9% of the total GDP, comes also the unintended consequences. So dahil malaki yung pera dyan, malaki rin yung mga magnanakaw. So there's this, the cybercrime also persists. And based on the 2018 data, the Philippines is losing around around 33 billion to online scam. But that's not really the real picture. The real picture is the scammers are targeting the ordinary Filipinos because companies are invested in protecting their infrastructure. So they're targeting us, and we are not knowledgeable. So the real problem here, why a lot of Filipinos are being scammed or are victims of scam, is because we don't have the cyber hygiene. We were not trained. So that's the goal now of Scam Watch.
Yeah.
We want to gather all companies, government, and target all sectors to educate them against scam.
Very interesting. I think that topic actually deserves another session.
Yes,
no?
yeah.
But going back to our our industry, our topic, how playful can you get into this industry? Like, in terms of PR and communications, this they say unglamorous and boring industries versus like an FMCG that you can do a lot of things in the areas of communication. How far, how crazy can you go in terms of developing those campaigns?
Right. So, well, definitely there's a lot of different approach because these are all unique industries, and so you really have to adjust to the circumstance, to the audience segment, and of course last but not the least, the organizational objectives that you're dealing with. So, for example, for us in Meralco, we're a heavily regulated company, and so we don't just deal with customers. We also deal with the general public, government officials, and the other PR groups that are, that we need to satisfy, basically. So, I think with the different industries, you would have basically different pictures of how it looks like, but in order to do that, I guess you just have to learn. You just have to go through the reps of understanding the different needs of all your stakeholders.
And actually, both your previous company, Globe and Meralco, had won a lot of awards, no,
Yes.
in Anvil and other award-giving bodies in the industry. So what do you think are the tricks to those successes?
Well, in terms of, like what you said, to address what's the difference between an FMCG and utility company. Actually, the utility company is more exciting because you're handling the corporate brand rather than individual product brands. And with this comes the responsibility not only to your customers but to the nation as well. Like what he said, a utility company is a highly regulated industry. So you have to work together with the regulation. But not only that, you have to also manage the reputation, the brand reputation of the company. And with this, you now have your brand truth, which is embedded in your mission vision, to create that brand trust because you're a utility. And in creating that brand trust, you now create these purposeful brand campaigns that are not, they are also fun, but you now go into the advocacy communications.
Okay.
How do you protect your customers? How do you take care of your customers? How do you protect the environment? How the company can help protect the environment in terms of its build, let's say infrastructure. How do you take care of the community that are affected with your build in terms of that infrastructure as well? So it's really the meaningful brand campaigns that is already embedded in your brand truth.
Okay. Can you say the same thing for Meralco?
Yeah, I guess I guess to your question on the awards, when we submit entries to the likes of Anvil,
Yeah.
we actually feel we're very fortunate to be representing a company that really puts CSR, sustainability, public service at the core of really what we do. And I think that just really resonates with our culture, with the kind of services that we do, and also with the communications that we put out.
Okay.
And so I guess it's really just for us, it's really just manifesting what we're already doing, and that's just basically the formula that we have.
Okay, can you pitch to our young audiences, like if they are interested, what to expect from these companies if they want to join the workforce and join some companies, utility companies like this? Can you make a pitch for them to?
Well, basically, if you join, whether it's Meralco, the telco, the waters, work will be challenging. It will be exciting, of course. You will gain experience, but at the same time, I think it will build character, because there are most of the time, even let's say if you have a meaningful brand campaigns, there are also a lot of issues, and particularly when it comes to incident management. If your service is down, so you have to make sure that you communicate properly to your stakeholders, how long, so you have to really manage their expectations. So you're not only accountable to the public, but you're also accountable to the government, especially if you're not really ready. Let's say like what happened with, let's say in Meralco, if you don't have power, a lot of industries will be affected.
Yeah.
If you don't have a telecommunications, people will get angry because life now is dependent on the internet. If your e-wallet is down, it's also the same thing. So it's actually it's going to be exciting, challenging, but I think the most crucial aspect there is that everything that you learn cognitively in school, every theories, every principles, management principles that you will learn, you can basically see it, not actually apply it because you're just starting, but experience now will be your best teacher. And eventually, for every hardship, for every crisis, for every successes, it will contribute to who will you become in terms of a communications practitioner. Tibay ng dibdib. But if you are weak-hearted, and if you're the sensitive type, you go to the marketing, because here it's issue management, it's incident management, and then how do you recover from that? Because let's say, for instance, if you experience a crisis, you have to be ready to create a recovery advocacy campaign, and that's where the fun comes in. It's because that's where the creativity comes in. After the serious stuff, you can now play with creativity like the marketers do. But this time in terms of PR.
Okay, how about you, Charles?
I'll speak from personal experience now, because looking back when I was a budding professional, I think it was a time where being an entrepreneur was cool. This was the time where Mark Zuckerberg had this movie, Elon Musk. And so just looking back, I think I had myself, and I guess some people around me thought we had this big ambitions of being an entrepreneur but as I went through my career, being through the different industries that I've been, I've kind of learned how stressful it can be. Like Sir Jocel mentioned a while ago, but you have to be strong-willed to be able to navigate through these crises. And I guess what I've kind of found was the proper balance. in navigating through these industries. How much of my personal life am I willing to sacrifice? Because in these industries, you really have to be on it 24/7. Because things can happen during a weekend, at midnight, in the morning, and you really have to be fully dedicated to the work you're doing. And I guess what I want to share with the people who are younger than me is that you have to find that balance, that work-life mix, or whatever you call it these days, to be able to find satisfaction with what you're doing.
Kasi like in these industries, kasi your relationship with your audience is 24/7, no?
Yes.
Unlike when you like sell a shampoo or a soda, na if they don't want to buy, there are other brands and then they can stop, it's okay. But here, pag walang kuryente, pag walang linya telepono, magwawala yung mga tao, no? Okay.
True.
So, speaking of magwawala mga tao, can you share with the audience, like, what was like one of the biggest, issues or crises that you've experienced in your line of work? And then how did you manage the in terms of communications, in terms of managing the issues? Can you share like one of those experiences?
Okay. Actually, sa sobrang dami, I don't know.
I know.
Where to start.
Oh, isa lang.
Siguro, let me start because I cannot. There are things that are confidential.
Yeah.
So probably I'll start with the one that won the award. This is the wonderful PH when I was in Globe. So the objective there is to obviously make Philippines wonderful in terms of every aspect. But the real purpose there is that particular positioning was aimed to address one thing only. Because at that time, the biggest issue in the country was the slow internet. And people don't know why internet was slow. So the objective was at that time was to change the perception slowly by, number one, project Globe that Globe is doing its infrastructure building. It's working with the government because nobody knows that it takes 25 permits and 8 months to create one cell site. At that time, one cell site, nobody knows that. They think that you can just build cell site.
Yeah.
So that was the challenge. Okay. The other issue at that time was to, while doing that, you're now creating experiences for the customers, for the Globe customers, in terms of the digital lifestyle. So you're now slowly introducing video free Facebook. You're now introducing Spotify. You're now introducing YouTube. So in terms of all that aspect, plus the Globe Studios and other experiences digitally. Because the premise is, the perception building was, Globe has a great network. And how do you now balance that? So you balance that by creating these experiences. So at that time, in order to drown while we're battling the issue management at that time on the corporate side by lobbying, partnering with the government, the brand PR was also doing the digital lifestyle. That's why Globe introduced the digital lifestyle back in 2014 when it introduced Spotify. So when you say, mabagal si Globe, but you're watching YouTube. You're enjoying your Facebook. So I think in that way it created the balance of deflecting the blame that the slow internet is really caused by the telcos, which was not true. And until now, even I'm no longer in Globe, I will still say that in order to create this good utility service, or in order to provide a good service, utility companies must work hand in hand with the government. So if a company does not really putting up a good service, that means regulation is not all. You have a weak regulations because there are no safety measures in place. So in this aspect, it's the role of the company to work with various government agencies while you're doing the campaign at the same time. I think that's the biggest for me. it was a crisis in the sense that Globe is being blamed. Every time you look at the social media,
Yeah.
Globe sucks,
Yeah,
Globe
yeah,
sucks. And
yeah.
if you're part of that organization, which I was, it's really hurtful. Because I mean, we've been working 24/7 to provide a good service. And the perception was negative. So you have to really create that. So in a way, I think from that campaign ran from 2015 to 2018, and it won a lot of awards. And I think more important than the awards, it really established Globe
Okay.
as the leader of digitalization in terms of the digital lifestyle. And all of this vision, including the GCash, we were also part of that digital lifestyle direction, which is happening now. So I think
Okay.
that's what I can share.
Yeah.
The sensitive stuff I will no longer
Yeah,
share.
very well said. Thanks, Jocel. Charles.
Okay. Well, for me personally, no. I did mention that I've been with Meralco for 3 years. So maybe the most major crisis that I've experienced. And disclaimer lang, I wasn't really in the trenches. No, I was just an observer because at that time I was new. It was
Yeah.
during the pandemic,
Okay.
where I think all of the companies were trying to figure out how to work around the strict protocols, the restrictions. And so what was happening for us was for one, we couldn't read the meters. So our meter readers weren't allowed to go to the houses and kind of check the meters house to house. And so what we did, and with approval, in coordination with the government, was we had to estimate the energy consumption per household based on the last 3 months of their
Okay.
bill. And so this, of course, given the discrepancy of because what happened was a drastic change in lifestyle, and with that, your consumptions change. People are staying at home, so definitely,
Higher.
It was either so much higher or so much lower because some of our customers weren't at home at that time or weren't going to the office.
Oh, yeah.
So things were really abnormal, and when their bill arrived, that's where I guess that's where Meralco was put in a lot of pressure because people didn't really expect.
Yeah.
It was either so bad or and so I guess that's where company culture comes in, where you see resilient people who have really their customers and service at heart. And I think that's where the core values of Meralco really grew on me, because you can really see people like Sir Jocel mentioned that they really have the best intentions for the customers that we served at that time. People were working on site even though it was risky. People were working around the clock, working so hard, and it just really hurt. I was reminiscing. It just really hurt when you saw external sentiment, saying that Meralco wasn't doing a great job, ganyan. And it was quite an experience for me, coming from being a new employee at this company, seeing how the teams work together truly to be able to serve the public at a very difficult time.
Okay, very well said. We're running out of time, but I'd like to ask the last question. You can answer very short. What is the best and the worst part of the job, like in working for these utility companies? What's the best and the worst part?
Well, I think the best part is you're doing your share in nation building. You're actually contributing something in terms not just the brand experience, but with the total experience of that particular industry. Let's say, for instance, if you're an internet service provider, you're contributing to the advancement of the digitalization of the Filipino by providing them access. Plus, you can create something that, let's say, if you're into tech, So you are able to contribute some personal how do you call this preference in terms of the campaign. You can do reviews, product reviews. But the worst part, other than creating these advocacy campaigns, advocacy communications, the worst part is there will always be incident. People will never be happy. Regardless of how much you do, people will always complain. Especially, let's say, like Meralco or Globe. They have millions of customers.
It's part for the course, no?
Yeah, so how do you address all of those? I mean, your call center has only how many people, how many capacity to address all those complaints. That's why AI now is also helping introduction of self-help, just to be able to address the customer issues and improve customer experience. So in that aspect, it's both fun and challenging. But like what I said, it will really define who you will become if you experience this particular profession.
You Charles, someone the best and the worst.
Yeah, I agree with Sir Jocel, but I guess for me, I would have the same answer. Whether it's the best and worst, and that would be the difficult times, the crisis that you manage in communications, because those are just like what we're doing now. No, we're talking about all these incidents that happened before that really create great stories, and if you would reminisce, those are the times that you really saw the kind of people that you're working with, and at the same time, that's also where you kind of get to know yourself better by being in all this pressure. That's when you become desperate, or diba? And for me, it's really a moment that I kind of savored, seeing everybody working together, seeing how you make impact to the people you serve.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Guys, we have Jocel de Guzman, the lead convener, founder of ScamWatch Pilipinas and formerly with Globe, and Charles Manimbo of Meralco. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rudy.
Yeah, and that's a wrap for this episode of Breaking Down the Bus, the PRSP Youth Con in a podcast in partnership with the Pod Network, a pioneer 12-episode series designed for students and young professionals of PR and communications. So we hope that you've learned something from this podcast. Join us for the next episode as we continue to create online discussions on the topics and touch points that matter. Thank you also to Mr. again, Charles Manimbo, and Jocel again. Thank you.
Happy to be
for
here.
the wonderful contribution to this discussion and crafting communications on the functional and the unglamorous. These learning sessions are created and organized by the Public Relations Society of the Philippines, or PRSP's Education Committee. For further information on this podcast, just visit prsp.ph. Wonderful surprises await the lucky podcast listeners. Find out more again at prsp.ph. Thank you to the new channel for the speakers tokens. Wonderful surprises await you. Okay, finally, PRSP and the Pod Network, thank you all for listening. We hope we've shared some values to our chosen profession of PR and communications. This is Rudy Villar. Take care and God bless.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.